Picture someone stepping out the door in a pair of ordinary-looking glasses, walking past a robot quietly mopping the kitchen floor, arriving at a meeting where a tiny pin on their collar is already transcribing every word. Later that night, they strap on a piece of hardware that helps their legs carry a heavy bag up 4 flights of stairs like it weighs nothing at all. None of this is a movie set. None of it is a concept render. Every device in that scene exists right now, sold and shipped today, mostly through Amazon, to ordinary people who got tired of waiting for the future. What follows are 20 real gadgets that look like they escaped a science fiction script and landed in a shopping cart instead. Prices shift constantly, so treat every figure here as a starting point, not a promise. Stick around for the first one. It's less a gadget, more wearable machinery that changes what a human body can carry. Number 20. The PowerUp 4.0 Paper Airplane Kit. At around $100, this is the gadget on the list that looks the least like technology and behaves the most like a magic trick. It's a lightweight electric conversion kit that clips onto a folded paper airplane, complete with a tiny propeller, a rechargeable battery, and smartphone-based flight controls that steer the plane through loops and long-distance glides most paper planes could never survive. The task it replaces isn't a phone task at all, it's the disappointment of a paper airplane crashing into the wall 3 feet from where it was thrown. PowerUp turns a folded piece of paper into an actual remote-controlled aircraft, guided from a phone screen. Exactly the kind of thing a science fiction movie would show a kid building in a garage before something bigger happens. It's the smallest, cheapest entry here, and also a reminder that feels like science fiction doesn't always mean expensive. Sometimes it just means turning something ordinary into something that flies. Number 19. The Xbot Go AI Camera. Priced at the premium end of the auto-tracking camera category, Xbot Go follows a subject automatically across a field, a court, or a backyard, panning and zooming without anyone standing behind it. Point it once, and it keeps tracking motion on its own for the rest of the game. The phone task it replaces is one every parent recognizes instantly. Handing a phone to someone else and hoping they hold it steady, only to get home to shaky footage that barely shows what happened. Xbot Go behaves like a camera operator who never gets bored, never looks away, and never misses the moment because they were checking a different notification. That's the part that feels genuinely futuristic about it, a machine quietly doing a human job, well enough that nobody in the stands even notices it's happening. Number 18. The Iflytek A Note 2. At around $500, this is an AI note-taking tablet that listens, transcribes, and organizes in real time. Whether you write by hand, speak out loud, or switch between both without thinking about it, the device reconciles everything into structured, searchable notes automatically. For people whose days are stacked with meetings and half-formed ideas, A Note 2 replaces the phone's usual role as a dumping ground for voice memos and screenshots of whiteboards that never get revisited. It becomes the one place thinking happens, built deliberately to feel like paper rather than a screen that keeps pulling attention towards something else. It's the first hint on this list of a theme that keeps returning. Devices built to capture a human thought before it evaporates, without dragging along everything else a phone usually drags along with it. 3 gadgets in, and the pattern is already visible, not flashy effects, just quiet automation, replacing something a person used to have to do manually. Number 17 takes that same idea and puts it on the wall of an entire house. Number 17. The Google Nest Learning Thermostat. Priced at roughly $249 to $279, this thermostat studies routines over the first week or 2 of use and then adjusts temperature on its own, with no app required and no schedule programmed by hand. What it replaces isn't dramatic, but it's constant. The phone-in-hand moment of nudging a thermostat app up or down, morning and night in every room that has one. Nest removes that repetition permanently, learning a household's rhythm better than the household consciously knew it themselves. It's proof that a house quietly managing its own comfort, without anyone standing over it, is exactly the kind of small miracle science fiction used to promise and rarely delivered until now. Number 16. The Furbo Mini 360. Somewhere between about $100 and $200, this rotating pet camera dispenses treats and sends AI-driven alerts for barking, unusual movement, or a pet wandering somewhere it shouldn't. It watches the whole room instead of a fixed corner. The phone task it replaces is the anxious mid-meeting check in pulling out a phone just to peek at a live feed, then doing it again 20 minutes later out of habit rather than necessity. Furbo does the watching itself and only interrupts when something actually needs attention, turning constant low-grade worry into something that only crosses your mind when it genuinely matters. For anyone who's ever wished they could split themselves in two, one half at work, one half at home, keeping an eye on things, this is about as close as that wish gets. Number 15. The Insta360 Flow 2 Pro. At around $159 to $180, this is an AI tracking gimbal that locks onto a subject and follows it automatically, panning and adjusting in real time without anyone touching the controls. The task it replaces is the awkward one-handed phone holding while walking backward routine most people attempt when trying to film themselves or a friend in motion. Flow 2 Pro tracks the subject the way a camera operator would, freeing the person being filmed to just move naturally instead of performing for a lens someone else is fumbling with. It's a small gadget, but it does something that used to require a second person and a steady hand, and now does it by itself, quietly, from a tripod nobody has to touch. 15 down, and already the through line is obvious. Machines doing the watching, the tracking, and the remembering that used to require a dedicated human being standing just out of frame. Number 14 takes that same idea and shrinks it down to fit in a pocket. Number 14. The DJI Osmo Pocket 3. At around $449. The Osmo Pocket 3 is a pocket-sized gimbal camera with a 1-inch sensor, capable of stabilized, cinema-quality footage that most smartphones simply can't match, especially in low light or fast motion. The phone task it replaces is video capture itself the instinct to pull out a phone and shoot something that ends up shaky or poorly exposed, especially indoors. Osmo Pocket 3 is small enough to carry everywhere, but produces footage close to what a dedicated camera crew would deliver, which is exactly why creators and entrepreneurs reach for it instead of a phone. It's proof that feels like science fiction doesn't require size. Sometimes the most futuristic thing in someone's pocket is smaller than the phone sitting right next to it. Number 13. The Withings ScanWatch 2. Priced at around $300 and up, ScanWatch 2 looks like a conventional analog watch, with a small display tucked discreetly into the dial rather than dominating the face. Underneath that classic look sits an egg, an oxygen sensor, and continuous temperature tracking, all working quietly enough that nobody across a dinner table would guess any of it was happening. For people who want health monitoring without wearing something that visibly announces it, ScanWatch 2 replaces the phone's health app entirely, hiding genuinely advanced medical sensing inside a watch face that could pass for something from 100 years ago. That contrast old-world design hiding next-generation sensors is exactly the kind of detail a science fiction writer would invent if they wanted a piece of hidden technology nobody suspects. Number 12. The Rincon Gen 2 Air. Somewhere between about $199 and $299, this smart ring tracks heart rate, blood oxygen, respiratory rate, skin temperature, and sleep architecture continuously, without a screen and without needing daily charging the way a smartwatch does. It replaces the phone's role as a health dashboard, the habit of opening an app each morning to check how you slept, or whether your heart rate looked normal overnight. Instead, the ring builds a private physiological baseline over weeks and flags anything unusual before it becomes something you can actually feel. Nobody looking at someone's hand would ever guess it's doing clinical-grade sensing. It just looks like jewelry, which is exactly the kind of quiet camouflage that makes it feel more advanced, not less. 3 wearables in a row, and the theme keeps sharpening technology disappearing into things that don't look like technology at all. Number 11 takes that idea and gives it a face and a personality. Number 11. The Moppet Emo AI Desk Robot Companion. At around $419, Emo is a small desk robot with an expressive face, physical movement, and an AI personality that reacts to touch, sound, and conversation, wandering around a desk like something that's genuinely alive in miniature. There isn't really a phone task Emo replaces so much as a phone habit. It interrupts the reflex to glance at a screen for a moment of distraction or company between tasks. Emo offers that same small dose of interaction, but through something physical, present, and reactive in the room instead of a glowing rectangle. It's the closest thing on this list to a genuine science fiction companion robot, the kind that used to only exist in movies about some distant future that apparently already arrived. Number 10. The AB Pocket Pet. Priced between about $100 and $200, AB is a tiny companion robot small enough to clip on or carry, with an animated digital face and reactive behaviors that respond to how it's handled and spoken to. It doesn't replace a specific phone function so much as it replaces the impulse to reach for a phone out of boredom or loneliness during a quiet moment. AB gives that moment somewhere else to go, a small, expressive object that reacts back, instead of a screen that simply displays whatever was scrolled to last. For anyone who grew up watching movies about pocket-sized digital creatures, AB is close enough to that fantasy that the resemblance is clearly intentional, not accidental. Number 9. The Dream Matrix 10 Ultra. At around $1,699, this is a premium autonomous vacuum and mop robot that navigates a home with mapping precision, avoids obstacles in real time, and handles both floor types and edge cases most cheaper robots stumble on. It replaces the phone task of managing a cleaning schedule and, more meaningfully, replaces the chore itself, running quietly through an empty house and reporting back only through an app when something needs a decision. For people whose time is worth more spent elsewhere, a household robot handling an entire recurring task isn't indulgent, it's simply efficient. It's the kind of device that used to only exist in imagined future homes, and now exists in actual homes, working while everyone's out at dinner. 9 gadgets to go, and every device so far has quietly replaced a human habit with a machine doing it better. Number 8 moves the story from cleaning to conversation, and from apps to hardware built for exactly one purpose. Number 8. The Time Kettle W4 Pro. At around $299 to $400 depending on configuration, the Time Kettle W4 Pro is a pair of translation earbuds. 2 people wear a pair each, speak normally, and hear each other's words translated in real time, with an offline mode covering the languages travelers rely on most. The phone task eliminated here is significant. No propping a device on a table, no passing a phone back and forth, no breaking the natural rhythm of talking that makes a conversation feel human instead of mechanical. For frequent travelers and international business owners, this is one of the gadgets that gets used almost every single day it's owned. It's the kind of device that turns we don't speak the same language from a barrier into a minor technical detail, handled quietly by 2 small earbuds. Number 7. The Plod Note Pen. At around $159 to $199 plus a subscription, the Note Pen clips to a collar or sits on a desk and continuously transcribes meetings and conversations, then uses AI to produce structured summaries with action items pulled out automatically. It replaces the phone's role as a voice memo app and, more importantly, the hours normally spent turning recordings into usable notes afterward. For executives, consultants, and anyone whose value is measured in what they remember and follow up on, NotePen turns spoken meetings into a searchable, permanent record without anyone typing a single word during the conversation itself. That's a meaningful shift for people whose calendars are packed back to back, being fully present in a conversation instead of splitting attention between listening and note-taking. Number 6. The Even Realities G2 Smart Glasses. Priced at around $599 and up, G2 uses a minimal, nearly invisible display built directly into the lens, placing information in a wearer's line of sight without a bulky screen, a camera bump, or anything that reads as obviously electronic from across a room. The phone task it replaces is the constant glance-down habit, checking a notification, a direction, or a reminder by pulling out a screen. G2 puts that same information directly into a person's field of view, so the information comes to them instead of the other way around. It's one of the most literally science fiction devices on this list, because it does the exact thing every futuristic heads-up display in every movie has always promised, in a form factor thin enough to disappear on someone's face. 6 gadgets left, and this is where the list stops feeling like clever gadgets and starts feeling like something closer to actual science fiction. Number 5 is the one most people mistake for a toy until they see it work. Number 5. The Rabbit R1. At around $199, Rabbit R1 is a small, standalone AI action device with a scroll wheel, a camera, and a personality built entirely around doing things on command, ordering, booking, searching, and acting on spoken requests without opening a single app. The phone task it replaces is the multi-step app hunting sequence most requests require, unlocking a phone, finding the right app, tapping through menus just to complete one small action. R1 collapses that entire sequence into a spoken sentence and a single press. It looks like a prop pulled straight out of a movie about pocket-sized AI assistants, mostly because that's precisely what it was designed to resemble, right down to the way it fits in a palm. Number 4. The Robotics Z70. At around $1,299, this is a robotic vacuum mop with an extending mechanical arm that lifts and reaches into corners, under furniture, and around clutter that stops most robot vacuums cold, combined with obstacle recognition sharp enough to navigate a busy household on its own. It replaces the phone task of managing a cleaning schedule and, more meaningfully, replaces the physical chore of vacuuming and mopping altogether, running while the house is empty and only reporting back through an app when a decision is actually needed. That extending arm is the detail that pushes it past smart vacuum and into small household robot, which is exactly the distinction that makes it feel closer to science fiction than to a cleaning appliance. Number 3. The Ray-Ban Meta Gen 2 Smart Glasses. At around $299 to $379 and up depending on lens and frame choice, these look identical to a premium pair of Ray-Bans. Inside, there's a high-resolution camera, open ear speakers, a microphone array, and an AI assistant that can see what you're looking at and answer questions about it. The phone tasks replaced here are broad, photography, hands-free calls, music, quick information lookups, and live translation, all without ever taking a phone out of a pocket or breaking eye contact with whoever is in front of you. It's the gadget most people wear the longest each day, because it doesn't feel like wearing a gadget at all. That's the entire appeal. It doesn't announce itself as futuristic, it just quietly removes the need to reach for a phone dozens of times a day, wrapped inside something that looks like ordinary sunglasses. 3 gadgets remain. And this final stretch is where the list stops feeling like clever consumer electronics and starts feeling like the opening scene of a film about 10 years from now. Number 2 takes a screen and turns it into private floating space. Number 2, the X-Real Air 2 Ultra. At around $699 and up, these are spatial computing glasses that project large, floating virtual displays in front of the wearer's eyes, usable for work, movies, or gaming anywhere, without a single physical monitor in sight. The phone and laptop task it replaces is the search for a big enough screen, squinting at a phone, hunting for a table to prop a laptop on, or simply not having a monitor available at all. X-Real Air 2 Ultra turns any seat, anywhere, into a private multi-screen workstation that only the wearer can see. It's the single most visually science fiction experience on this entire list, because putting on a pair of glasses and having a floating screen appear in front of you is precisely the scene science fiction has been describing for decades. And now, the gadget that closes this list. Not the cheapest, not the most subtle, but the one piece of hardware here that changes what a human body can physically do. Number 1. The Hypershell X Pro Wearable Exoskeleton. At around $1,899 and up, this is a powered exoskeleton worn around the hips and legs, using motorized joints and AI-adjusted torque to add real mechanical assistance to walking, climbing, and carrying weight, whether that's a loaded hiking pack up a mountain trail or a set of stairs at the end of a long day. There's no single phone task this replaces, because it isn't solving a phone problem at all, it's solving a human body problem, the kind that used to be permanent until now. It replaces fatigue itself, at least partially, giving legs a mechanical boost precisely when they'd normally start to slow down. That's what makes it the natural device to close this list on. Every other gadget here replaces something a phone used to do. This one replaces something no phone, no app, and no piece of software could ever touch, and it does it by strapping actual robotics to an actual human leg, which is about as close to walking out of a science fiction film as a real product gets. 20 gadgets. One shared idea, the line between future technology and thing you can order this week has almost completely disappeared. Glasses that project private screens. A ring that reads a heartbeat. A robot vacuum with an arm. An exoskeleton that helps a body carry more than it should be able to. None of it needed a lab coat or a research grant to reach an ordinary living room, it just needed someone willing to click buy. What's striking, looking back across all 20, is how normal most of them look sitting in a box on a porch. A pair of sunglasses, a ring, a watch, a small robot with a face. The technology itself is the extraordinary part. The packaging was designed deliberately to feel completely unremarkable. Which of these 20 would actually earn a permanent place in your daily life, and which ones still feel a step ahead of where you're ready to go? That's worth sitting with, because the honest answer says more about how close the future already is than any single product on this list ever could. Every gadget in this video is linked in the description below. Prices move constantly, so check current listings before deciding. And if you want to see where this category goes next, subscribe, because the gap between science fiction and next week's delivery is closing faster than most people realize.